Naruto Ultimate Ninja Heroes 2 was released in the West in 2008 and in Japan in 2006 and is a game for the PSP system. This game is considered to be the first Naruto PSP title. In the title it may say 2, but it's because in 2007 the West got an exclusive PSP game called Naruto Ultimate Ninja Heroes, which turns out is just a downscaled version of this game and has a smaller roster and less game modes than this game. I remember this being the first game I bought with my own money when I was 10 years old, so I'm eager to replay this game after all these years and see what the first PSP game has to offer. Right off the bat, this game offers us multiple modes: Versus Battle, Heroes mode, Ninja Road, and an interesting mode called Mugenjo. Mugenjo is a filler story mode that takes place right around the time when Sasuke's retrieval arc ends. The story of this game is represented in three ways. On one side we have these visual novel-like sections where we see the images of the characters and have some text below them. All of these scenes are voiced. Then, on the other hand, we have a few awesome CGI cutscenes. Yes, this small PSP game has cutscenes, and I have to tell you, they are sick. Here is one of them.
Kakashi-sensei!
And then finally we have these image-like cutscenes where we see an image and the characters talking over. The story revolves around this huge castle that suddenly appears out of nowhere in the middle of the village. This castle is an evil castle that sucks all the life force out of everyone in the village. The only way to defeat the castle is to go inside this spooky looking castle and remove 8 ceiling tags that are needed to actually summon this castle. Naruto and his friends have to climb on top of the castle to get all of the 8 seals. The gameplay of Mugenjo is like anything we've seen before in Naruto. Basically, each floor that Naruto and his friends are on is represented as a map, and in this map there are these small squares that represent a room. Some rooms can already be filled out by a drama scene, which will continue the story of Mugenjo, a treasure room which can give you some useful items, or a healing room that will allow you to heal your health and skills. The empty rooms need to be filled out by using a scroll. Yes, a scroll. Once you are in this map selection, you are given 4 scrolls that define a room type. The room types can be Battle Room, basically allows you to have a 1v1 fight with a predefined character. Amusement Room, a room where we are able to use the slot machine in order to earn some coins. This minigame was taken from Ultimate Ninja 3. Climbing Room. The tree climbing minigame room returns from the Ultimate Ninja 3. Riddle Room, where Iruka Sensei will give you a pop quiz consisting of 3 questions regarding the Naruto storyline, characters and so on. Clone Room. Ebisu will give you 2 clones and you have to try and find the real Ebisu Sensei from the clones. Shadow Possession Room, a minigame where we have to remember Shikamaru's inputs in order to execute a pose. This minigame comes from the Ultimate Ninja 2. As well, you are always able to see the next scroll in order to strategize your room layouts. On each floor the map layout is different. Sometimes there are obstacles that can block off a shortcut or a hidden path to a treasure room. In order to deal with them, you can use your buddies. Yes, buddies. While playing through this mode, multiple characters will join your team and accompany you. Each character offers special skills that can be used in the map. There are 4 types of skills that buddies can use. Some characters can copy a scroll type, some can change the next scroll to be any scroll you want, and some can randomly shuffle the existing scroll types. Some characters like Neji, for example, are able to unlock hidden paths that are not very easy to see. Some characters like Naruto or Kiba can destroy builders that are blocking a path. Characters like Hinata, for example, are able to heal any wounded characters. There is also a team building aspect in this mode. Yes, while in the Mugenjo you have to create a small team which consists of 4 people, a team leader and 3 ninjas. Each team lead is able to give some attribute boosts to the other team members. There are multiple times where you can recreate a team and add or remove a character. After a team has been chosen, you are able to use the character in Battle Room. The flow of the story is pretty simple. You have to go through 100 floors of the castle. After each 5 or 10 floors, the story of the Mugenjo will continue. The main plot is that in this castle there is this princess who is controlling the castle and she wants revenge on the Leaf for what they did in the past. In the story later on, it turns out that this princess, whose name is Princess Dusk, is a princess that lived in this castle a long time ago. At that time, her name was Princess Kasumi. She was beloved by everyone and cared about the people around her until one day the Hidden Leaf attacked and burned the castle to the ground while killing all of her close people. Of course, the Hidden Leaf didn't attack the castle, and it was a devious plan to take control of her and her castle by Orochimaru. Orochimaru promised that if she helped him enact revenge on the Leaf, he would revive everyone that she had lost. Of course, that was a lie, and near the end of the story, she gets betrayed. So Naruto has to put an end to this whole castle's foolery and has to take down the castle. After Naruto destroys the castle with an awesome CGI cutscene, we are introduced to a beautiful ending scene where Kakashi, Sakura and Naruto are on a special mission. Once you are finished with this story mode, you are introduced to a new story mode called Hidden Mugenjo. In this mode, we take the role of Jiraiya. This story takes place exactly at the same time when Mugenjo's story takes place. In this story, Jiraiya with the help of Tsunade, Shizune and in some parts Kakashi go into the Mugenjo, but instead of going to the top, they go to the basement floors. In total, there are 30 floors. The gameplay is the same as Mugenjo's, where you need to fill up the rooms with minigames and battles in order to traverse the floors. Of course, during the way down, they meet multiple spirits and Orochimaru trying to stop them. Basically, in the bottom floor, there is this huge cauldron that is collecting all the life force of the village. In order to destroy the castle, Jiraiya needs to destroy it. The only thing that I didn't like is that for this game, they changed the voice actor of Jiraiya. Not sure why, but it just doesn't feel the same.
Mugenjo absorbs people's vitality and draws it together in one place. Unless we destroy it, no one will recover.
The next interesting mode we have here is Heroes mode. In Heroes mode, you are given these courses in which there are multiple battles. Each course is harder than the next one. You have to select a team of characters or create your own team and fight all the predefined fights. Interesting thing is that if you choose a pre-selected team or unlock a new team by selecting characters that make sense story-wise, you're able to get some special bonuses that can be used for battle. Yes, before battle, each character of the team can use special skills that can either give all of the teammates a boost, give a nerf to the enemy, deal damage to the enemy, or heal your teammates before battle. Regarding the fighting mechanics of this game, they are identical to Ultimate Ninja 3. Each character has two jutsus that can be used by double tapping the up or down button and then pressing the circle button. The only thing that was changed was that we can only cycle through our items using L1, since R1 is used for blocking attacks. Attacking feels the same and is the same, where by spamming the circle button and pressing any of the D-pads, a different string of attacks will be executed. In this game, each character as usual has an ultimate jutsu, but the ultimate jutsus are animated. Yes, for a PSP game, each character's ultimate jutsu is animated. Of course, they aren't as detailed as they are in Ultimate Ninja 3, but are in a similar vein as Ultimate Ninja 1. For me, the battle pacing was pretty fast. I didn't even expect the battle being so fast. Other than that, it's basically Ultimate Ninja 3's combat, but with less details on ultimate jutsus. Ninja Road. While playing the main story modes, you will earn some ninja points. These ninja points are used in this mode. Basically, there is this timeline where in each timeline points there is a reward. The rewards are like images, videos, movies, music and so on. For each 100 ninja points you have, this chibi looking Naruto will move across the village earning reward. All of these rewards can be seen in Naruto's house, just like in Ultimate Ninja 3. After some meters, Pakun will show up and give you a choice to choose a scroll from 3 scrolls. Each scroll has ninja points that can help you move forward a bit longer. Naruto Ultimate Ninja Heroes 3 came out in the West in 2010 for the PSP and is the first Naruto Shippuden title for the system. The main story mode of this game is the Master Road, in which we have multiple chapters. In total there are 7 chapters, 5 chapters in which we take control of Naruto and 2 chapters in which we play as Sasuke. Each chapter has multiple acts in which the story progresses. Naruto's side of the story retells the events of Naruto Shippuden, starting from the start of Shippuden up until the end of Hidan and Kakuzu arc. After completing the retelling of Naruto's side of the story, we get a small filler line storyline which was created especially for this game. This small filler storyline crosses paths with one of Sasuke's storylines as well. Sasuke's side of things, we get the retelling how the formation Hebi was created, and then the filler storyline is again retold but from the eyes of Sasuke, since in the end of the storyline Naruto and Sasuke both meet up to defeat the enemy. The filler storyline is interesting but padded with a lot of filler activities that just drag the progress of the story. I will talk about that a little bit later. In this filler chapter we get a huge boss fight which is nothing crazy or hard, but is still an interesting addition. The way this story mode works is a bit similar to Heroes 2 story mode. Basically, in each act, Naruto or Sasuke will go through this story timeline, if you can call it that, in which there are multiple squares or events. Red squares with a Konoha logo are story events that basically continue the flow of the storyline. Usually these are presented in a visual novel style, where we have the main characters, images and some text below them. Sadly, this game doesn't have any CGI cutscenes. The most important moments in the story are presented with a still frame from the anime and speech text below them. All of the talking sections are fully voiced, by the way. After a small visual novel scene, we are given one of the two types of gameplay options. If the story requires the characters to go from place A to place B in the story, for example the Kazekage rescue arc when Team Kakashi travels from the leaf to the hidden sand, we are able to play this moment. The game turns into a 2D platformer where we have to run from one side of the screen to the other, while in the meantime trying to dodge obstacles, enemies that will attack on sight, traps, and even in the later stages of the story do some puzzles. We are also able to execute jutsus and attack enemies. As well, in this world there are crates and vases which we can destroy in order to get some useful items like speed boosts or some health. This platform mode has two types. One, as already mentioned, where you have to go from point A to point B in a given time limit. The second one is when we have to beat up specific amount of enemies in order to finish the event. The other main story event is the regular fights, with characters that make sense story-wise. The deeper you get into the storyline, the harder the enemies get. Tactic squares are basically power-ups which we can buy by acquiring ninja points, which we get after completing an event. These bought power-ups can be used before an event by selecting the Use Tactics section. In general, we are able to boost our speed, attack, defensive stats and so on before the fight. Collectible squares are squares in which we can buy images, music and ultimate jutsu finishers, which then can be found in the good old Naruto's house. Ninjutsu squares allow us to buy ninjutsus, which then can be used by multiple characters. About that a bit later. Mission squares are similar to the main event squares, in which we get either a fighting event or a platforming event. The only difference is that it has no bearing on the story and the rules and the enemies are different each time. While playing through the timeline, you will unlock other squares. Each episode and arcs have a progression system where by completing all the events and buying everything, you are able to earn the 100% mark. Some story segments are a bit padded out in my opinion, just to increase playtime. I got a bit annoyed when in the filler arcs the gameplay was something along the lines of cutscene, running, random mission square, cutscene and again running. For me, this felt a bit repetitive. While playing through the story mode, you earn the already mentioned ninja points and unlock new characters along the way. In some story events, you'll see an icon with these two characters standing beside each other. This means that it is possible to play the story section in co-op mode. Yes, this game puts a heavy emphasis on playing with friends. If the other person has a PSP and the game, they both can do local co-op and play the story mode together. The roster in this game is huge, especially for a PSP title. In total we have 50 playable characters, that is just insane. I assume that the lack of CGI cutscenes is because this game holds a lot of characters. After finishing the story, you will unlock around 80% of the roster. In order to unlock the other half, you will have to do these specific missions. In the last chapter of Naruto's and Sasuke's stories, there are these three diverging paths. In order to get all of the characters, you have to finish all of the missions in these paths. By doing so, you will unlock characters like Three Pains, Naruto and Sasuke in school uniforms, Kid Obito, Kakashi and so on. But be warned, these missions are not easy and will make you rage. The conditions for the fights are crazy and usually you'll be in a handicap match doing 1v2 or 1v3 while the enemy is at the highest difficulty level. The easiest way to do this is to pick Kabuto or make sure he has the feather illusion jutsu on him, and once the battle starts, spam the jutsu, and when the enemy is asleep, attack. I'll be honest, in a regular way I wouldn't have gotten these characters. Some characters like Naruto have multiple variations through which we can choose. Another character like that is Sasori in his human form and in his puppet form. Interestingly, we have a regular Kabuto and then possessed Kabuto, but both of these characters have a slot in the roster. Each of the variants has their own jutsus and ultimate jutsus which can be used in battle. The battle mechanics for this game have changed drastically. If for Heroes 2 we had combat similar to Ultimate Ninja 3, then for this title the fighting is more Storm-esque. Now when attacking, the directional buttons don't do different combos. Now the system is similar to Storms, where you initiate the attack with the same string, but the ending of the string changes depending on the D-pad. Executing a combo with the D-pad up launches the enemy, executing it with the D-pad right and left pushes the enemy forwards. Sadly, we are not able to grab our enemies like we could in the previous game. Some characters like a guy can grab the enemy while in the air. A new ninja tool mechanic is added to this game, where each character has two tools. One is the basic kunai shuriken and the other is a special tool. When you press the triangle button, you are in this chakra state where you are able to use the specific tool. Something like in Storm, we have the chakra tools. Each character has a unique tool that can either deal damage or get an attack or defensive boost. As well, sadly, each character can only execute one jutsu, while in the previous game we could use 2. The only good thing out of this is that before a match we are able to select the jutsu which we want to use in the battle. As already mentioned, the jutsus can be bought in the main story mode. Some jutsus like Naruto's Rasengan can be channeled and some are just like basic attacks. Each character has an ultimate jutsu which can be executed by pressing triangle twice and pressing the attack button. Once the attack lands, we get this small input minigame, where if we execute the inputs fast enough we get the bonus damage for the ultimate jutsu. After that we see a really well made in-game cutscene where the jutsu is executed. These ultimate jutsus are better than the previous Heroes game. As well, while fighting, if you deal damage or receive high amount of damage, you unlock these chains which allows you to be in awakened mode that gives you new attacks and a damage boost. Some enemies like Daedra transform in a whole different character that is able to manipulate the stage floors. Daedra jumps up on his clay dragon and is able to fly around the stage. He is slow as hell but does some good damage. Itachi is also another example where, in his awakened form, he goes into the infinite Tsukiyomi mode and has this small cone-like field around him, where if an enemy is caught, the enemy becomes in a slowed down state, but Itachi's speed stays the same. Basically, the enemy is in a genjutsu. The fighting flow feels and is a bit different. There are now stages which have a 3-lane system or a 2-lane system as we had previously, and some have only 1 lane and the lane can be in like 2 floors. The Konoha village is an example where we have only 1 lane but we can fight in 2 floors in the stage. Some stages can also have a drop off point where you can drop your enemies out of the stage. Some stages like Daedra's battlefield are special in the sense that over time these small clay spiders will appear that can explode and deal damage to all characters. Another fun thing this game adds is the ability to fight up to 4 players. Yes, 4 players. These 4 players can be in different teams, making the fight like a free-for-all, or you are able to make teams where you could have like a 2v2, 2v1, 3v1 and so on. The fights then get pretty hectic and crazy. Sometimes when playing I lost where my character was in the midst of the battle. If you have created a team of characters that make sense story-wise, for example Lee and Guy, you are able to do a combined jutsu. For example, if 2 characters are close together, you'll see this red string connecting them both. Doing a jutsu will trigger the team jutsu. In the Tree of Mantle section you are able to input a password to unlock images, videos and so on. See wireless battle history and grow this plant. Yes, by playing the game and getting a certain amount of ninja points, you'll make this small pot to grow into a huge tree, where after each milestone you unlock wallpapers. These wallpapers can be saved in your PSP system and then can later be used as a background for the PSP. I think that that's a nice addition, that you can customize your PlayStation Portable by playing this game and getting rewards like images. Naruto Ultimate Ninja Impact is the last Naruto game that has ever come out for the PSP system. The game came out in 2011 worldwide. The main story mode of this game is the Ultimate Road. This is the mode in which you will spend the majority of your time. The story of this game takes us from the start of Naruto Shippuden right until the end of the 5-Kada Summit arc. The flow of this game is similar to the last Heroes game. Essentially, this game is split up into 10 chapters. Each chapter is represented as a map in which there are these paths that follow the events of the story. If the story events are happening in Konoha, the map will be the map of Konoha. If you're playing the Jiraiya's arc, you'll find yourself in the Hidden Rain village. In the map there are multiple events that progress the story, similar to Ultimate Ninja Heroes 3. Only difference here is that there are no more filler-like events that just pad the playtime. In total there are 3 main events. Story battles. These are represented with a red kunai that will throw the player in a battle environment that makes sense story-wise. Story dialogue. These are represented with a book. These events are basically story dialogues that move the story forwards. Usually these scenes are thrown after a story battle. The story dialogues are represented in a visual novel style and are fully voiced. Occasionally you'll get still frames from the anime. Side mission battles. These are represented with a red shuriken. After completing a chapter you'll unlock new side battle missions that are filler-like battles. One example is Naruto forgetting to bring Sakura a souvenir after he came back to the village, so he asks Jiraiya for help. Of course, he will help only if Naruto protects Jiraiya from hordes of Konoha ninjas that want to punish Jiraiya for doing some of his research. Of course, on the side there are other events like the shop in which we are able to buy cards. Yes, cards. This game puts a heavy emphasis on collectible cards. While playing through the game, you'll earn ninja points that will allow you to buy these cards. These cards can be used before a battle to give some boost to the character you're currently playing. Before a fight, you're able to set a maximum of 4 cards that can increase your stats like attack, defense, chakra and so on. Naturally, while fighting, you are able to level up your character that will increase its stats automatically, so the cards are there for a quick boost. While playing through the story mode, you will unlock some special cards that can be used in the map or before a battle. Some cards will allow you to change the battle difficulty of a fight. Some cards like Sakura's will help you destroy a builder in order to access special areas of the map, or some cards like Ma's and Pa's card that will allow you to access the far reaches of the map in order to get either ninja points or some special cards. There are some cards that are character specific. If the character uses his special card extensively, after some time the card gets mastered and is able to be used by other characters as well. During the story you will play with multiple characters. You will play as Naruto, Sasuke, Jiraiya and the 4th Raikage, for example. The interesting thing is that this game offers us 2 endings depending on which character you choose in the last battle. After finishing the battle, the credits roll, and after that a small cutscene is played from your chosen character's perspective. After completing a battle you will earn a rank. The rank depends on your time, the amount of enemies defeated and damage dealt. The higher the rank, the more ninja points you acquire. As well, the higher the rank, the more card pieces you are able to unlock. Yes, there are some cards that can be only unlocked by A. buying special card booster packs in the store, or B. playing the game and getting random pieces which will help you in creating new cards. There are 2 types of card rarities. Red cards are rare and need 9 pieces to collect, while blue are normal cards with 4 pieces needed to be unlocked. This game's gameplay differs a lot from the previous Heroes games. If the previous games were 2D fighters at their core, this time the game is a hack and slash type game. The core gameplay elements are simple. You are dropped in a battlefield with hundreds of enemies around you. Depending on the story context, you will have to either defeat a certain number of enemies, have to travel from one end of the map to the other, or have to defeat bosses in order to complete the battle. Most of the regular enemies can be defeated in 2 hits, but sometimes there are tougher enemies that either summon these regular enemies or some who can deal and take huge amounts of damage. As well, there are different types of enemies depending on the story, and the way how they are introduced kinda makes sense as well. We got Leaf Shinobi, Sound Ninjas, Dangerous Clay Spiders, 5 Gaka Summit Samurais and Akatsuki's Cursed Dolls. For example, when fighting any of the Akatsuki members, they will summon these doll-like enemies that are meant to be a backup plan for the Akatsuki. When fighting Deidara, he will use a mix of these dolls and his clay spiders that explode on impact. Or when you are fighting Itachi, he will use his crows to attack, just like in the anime. The battle system is like no other. In general, all of the fighting happens in the 3D world. The controls for fighting are interesting. So, basically, in order to move your character, you have to use the analog sticks instead of the D-pads. Basic functions like jumping and throwing shurikens are done with the same buttons as previously. In this game, each character that you play as has multiple jutsus that they can execute. Yes, no more are we locked with just one jutsu. These jutsus can be executed by spamming the circle button specific amount of times and then pressing the triangle button. Each character has around 3 to 4 jutsus that they can execute in the middle of the combos. Each character has a regular jutsu as well, like Naruto Suzengan, that can also be extended in order to deal massive amounts of damage. Since this game is a Musou type, all of the attacks for all characters are made with a huge AoE. Each playable character has an ultimate jutsu. In order to execute an ultimate jutsu, you press the triangle button twice and press the attack button, just like in the Storm games. When the attack hits, a small in-game cutscene is shown where the jutsu is done. These jutsus are devastating and can bring down a huge amount of enemies. Best idea is to run in the middle of the enemies and then execute the jutsu. Some characters like Sasuke and Naruto have multiple jutsus. In order to change the ultimate jutsus, you have to use special cards before the fight that gives the ability to change the ultimate jutsu. In story battles, sometimes the battle will be interrupted with a small dialogue sequence that gives more context to the fight/story. As well, during the battles, the characters will talk during the battle. If you play a battle long enough, you'll be able to hear the same line multiple times, which will get annoying.
Blow me! Go easy on me, okay? Shadow blow me! Go easy on me, okay? I think I'm getting the hang of this. Right, I think I'm getting the hang of this.
While fighting, you will be able to fill up this small meter besides your character. After you have defeated around 100 to 150 enemies, you will be able to use your Awakening. The Awakening can give you a stat boost, or allow you to use a different character like Naruto. When in Awakening mode, he turns into the Four Tails with new movesets and jutsus. In the chapter's endings, you will encounter bosses. There are 2 types of bosses. One is the regular bosses, which you defeat as any other enemy. The others are special, which, while in battle, will have this dot in their health bar. Once you have depleted the enemy to that point, a QTE sequence will happen. The QTE sequence are just like in the Storm games, but this time they are a bit quicker and lower budget. The visuals for these QTE sequences look awesome, especially for a PSP game. While inputting the QTE commands, you again, just like in the Storm games, you earn stars. This time the stars give extra ninja points at the end of the battle, and in the gallery section unlock the QTE sequence cutscenes for you to watch later. The ones that don't get all 3 stars are not unlocked. In these QTE sequences there are moments where the game alters from the game's visuals to an anime visual and then back to the game's visual. I think that's a unique transition to have to make the sequence more engaging. If the story mode wasn't enough for you, we got two more interesting modes, extra missions and tag missions. Extra missions are basically extra battles that can be done, but under specific rules. Challenges where you need to defeat certain bosses in a row, defeat multiple enemies in a given time, or defeat enemies without losing your combo. These battles can be fought by playing with the 26 playable characters that each have their own levels and abilities. Sadly, this time, and I think for the first time in Naruto Ultimate Ninja games, there is no free battle mode in which you can play 1v1 fights, even in a huge battlefield. Tag missions are basically the same thing, but you can play these missions with your friends who have the game and the PSP console as well. If you play a certain amount of times with a character, if I'm not mistaken it was 20 times, then in the gallery section you are able to unlock an image of that character, which just like in Heroes 3 can be saved in the PSP system and used as a background image. Well, that's about it. We have played all of the Naruto Ultimate Ninja PSP games. There are still two Naruto PSP games that are not related to Ultimate Ninja series that we need to cover, so stay tuned for that. I want to thank you all for the support lately. I want to thank you each and everyone for commenting, liking and subscribing. That means a lot to me. But yeah, thank you so much everyone. I wish you all a nice day/evening. Bye guys.